Daf Tesam at base will begin Tesam at Aleph, 12 lines from the bottom. Continuing along with the discussion, the Machlek Sabayin Rava, whether between or opposite a lechi, is it mutter to be metaltal in that area or not? So Amalei Rav Hunabarei the Rav Yeshua Rava, v'hatlei tisra the ben l'chayayin also. You say it's mutter. How can you say it's mutter? We see clearly over here that it's also. If you have a mavi that was lined with lechis, and it's less than dalet tvachim between each one of them. So if you have the mavi open to the Rishus Harabim, and it lined it on down with lechis, it went in a row, and it lined it with lechis. Now, if it's less than daled between each lechi, it's less than daled tvachim. So it's more than gimel. It's between gimel and daled tvachim between each of the lechis, and you have it lined. So in such a case, then we say, Banul machlekes Rishim Gamliel v'Rabbanan. We have machlekes Rishim Gamliel and the Rabbanan. Now we know that the Rabbanan say less Dovid is within 3 tvachim. Rav Shimon Gamliel says it's within dalet tvachim. So in this case over here, would you say Dovid or would you not say Dovid? So according to the Rabbanan, you don't say Dovid. So each lechi is considered to be separate. It's considered to be independent. According to Shimon Gamliel, in such a case, you'd say Dovid, and therefore it's considered to be all joined together. It's considered to be as one. In the Shimon Gamliel Damrin Ada Omer Amrina Lovod Mishtamish Ad Chudu Hapnimi Shel Alechi Hapnimi. So according to Shimon Gamliel, he says that it's all considered one, so therefore you can only carry to the Chud Hapnimi Shel, only to this edge over here, of the inner lachi, and if it continues further down, then if there's another one here, it's the one that is furthest into the mavi, and only the inner edge. Meaning, since this is considered like one, it's considered like one block, it's considered like one lachi. And therefore, he says you can only carry to the inner edge, to the inner one of the one that's further close to the lachi. So doesn't that show you that you can't carry between the lachi? Since this is all considered to be one lachi, you can't carry opposite a lachi, so you can only carry further into the mavi. The Rabbanan say in this case we don't say Dovid because it's more than gimel. It's only within daled mishtamish al chud pnimi shel chitzon. Then you can carry to the chud pnimi of the chitzon, because these are not joined. These two are not joined. This is considered to be a separate lachi. So you can carry to the inner edge of here, meaning, so you can't, everyone agrees you can't carry opposite the lechi. The question is, what is the lechi? According to the Rabbanan, these are independent. So you can carry, this is the lechi, this is not the lechi. You can carry till here. Opposite the lechi, you can't, but you can carry till here. According to Shimon Gamliel, this is all, it's joined, it's viewed as joined because of Dovid, you can only carry till here. But doesn't everyone agree, therefore, but you cannot carry opposite the lechi? So the Chor, you see clearly that you can't carry opposite the lechi. Rav Amar, he says, no. Hasanami, the Besuch Karmelis. He says, yes, I agree, but like we said previously, I agree in such a case that it's also. But that's when the area over here is a Karmelis. And therefore we say that this is more Chomer, the area opposite the lechi, it's more Chomer if the mavi is open to a Karmelis. Because then we view this as one area, it's joined together and it all becomes a Karmelis. But if we open to the Rishus Harabim, you're telling me that it's mutter. Well, Rishus Harabim is a deraisa, is more chomer. You're telling me if this area that it's open to the Rishus Harabim, then this is mutter. But if this is a Karmelis, this is also Rishus Harabim is more chomer than a Karmelis. Yetziva b'hara gzera o gior b'shmei shamayim. Are you going to tell me that the Yetziva, the citizen, is on the ground, and the Ger, the one who's just a visitor, a stranger, he's b'shmei shamayim, he's on top? So why should the Carmelists be more chamor than Rishus Haram? He said, in Matzah Minas Mina Venir. Yes, it's true, but even though that's true that the Rishus Haram is more chamor, but in terms of considering this to be one space, if this is a Carmelist, and therefore this joins together with this becomes one space because they're a common type of space, the same type of space, so they join together and become one. So you can't carry here, you can't carry here. But Rishus Harabim is a distinct area from the area opposite the Movi. So that's one approach. Rav Ashi Amar, he has another approach to it. He says, it was lined with lechis less than arba. But he says in this case, b'meshech arba amos. But he says that it continued along. It was lined with the moment, and it continued for a distance of 4 or more amas. So then this block of lechis becomes a significant area. There was a few. The previous case was that some distance, the total distance that it came into the movie was not dalet amas. We're talking. He says. No, the scenario is talking over here, not that it was less than dalet amas, it was lined with lechis, and it came into the movoi, each one less than dalet tvachim between each other. But the total area from the first lechi to the bottom one is, over here, is dalet amas or more. So now, if you consider this to be joined together, you have one big block of dalet amas or more. So again, Rav Ashi Amar Kigon Shiratzov B'Lchaim Pacha is Pachas Me'arba B'Meshch Arba Amas. L'Rabban Shimon Ben Gamaliel D'Amar Amrin and Lovud. He says we say Lovud in such a as Havlei Movoi. This in itself is considered to be a Movoi. We consider this itself to be a separate area Movoi. And now it itself needs a heter. So you can't carry in this area because this itself is considered a distinct area. It needs another lechi. It needs another lechi to be matered. So therefore you can't carry in this area. So really I'll tell you that the opposite the lechi is mutar. But in this case where this one big block becomes a big block over here because we say love it joins it all together. It's an area of dalet amas. This becomes its own movi. It needs another lechi. So without that, you can't carry over here. But according to the Rabbanan, but according to the Rabbanan, say in this case we don't say lovet because it's more than gimel tvachim between the lechis. We don't say lovet. It's not its own area, and therefore you can carry within over here the area over here. Well, we're saying according to Rav Shimon Gamliel that since this is lavud and its dollar extends dalet amas in, then it can't be treated as a lechi because it's a significant mokaim, and it should be considered to be like a movi in itself, which needs a heter. But right to Gemara, why do you say we don't have a lechi? Even according to Rav Shimon Gamliel, if the lechi started outside, which typically it does, typically it protrudes out into the street, then part of the lechi is now visible from the street, and it's clearly visible as separate from the wall of the movoi. It's clearly identifiable as something separate, even if this height would be the same height. But by the width, the fact that it extends out, even if you assume this is the same height, but it extends out, so you see the wall ends here, and the lechi protrudes. So why shouldn't this itself, this edge over here, be considered a lechi, and therefore matter the whole area inside the movi? Why do you need another lechi? So lahave can even though mibifnim from the inside of the movui, there doesn't look like anything identifiable. It just looks like these lines of posts over here. which through Lovid is joined, but from the outside you can see that there's clearly something identifiably different. So why shouldn't that be considered a Movi by virtue of what's protruding out? It's near b'machutz, from the outside it's visible, even though it's shavim b'fnim. More answers, Midu of Tamel Rav Yochanan. This Hasber that we're going is in Rav Yochanan, the way Rav Yochanan was Masber, the Brisa. As Taisus and Amarawa points out, that the Brisa itself didn't say that according to Rav Shimon Gamliel you can be mishtamish with the Chura Pnimi Shalachi Pnimi, and according to the Rabbanan it's Chura Pnimi of the Lachi Achitzan. Rav Yochanan said that. So this is Rav Yochanan's Hasber in the Brisa. And according to Rav Yochanan, he also Rav in Amma, Rabbi Yochanan, he says, but he argues on this principle, and he says that just because it's visible on the outside, if it's not visible on the inside, it's not nida mishum lachi, it's not a kosher lachi. So therefore, according to Rav Yochanan, it's not an issue. So now we were discussing this din of nir b'chutz sham b'fnim. The Gemara is going to continue with this discussion. Itmar nir b'fnim v'shavim b'chutz. If it's nir b'fnim v'shavim b'chutz. So now the Gemara gives a scenario which is a reverse scenario from what we had before, where it's nir b'fnim and it's shavim b'chutz. So if it's nir b'fnim v'shavim b'chutz, nida mishum lechi, it's a kosher lechi. In such a case, we say it's a lechi. So what's nir b'chutz shavim b'fnim? If this would be not protruding, let's say that the heights are the same. So if you had a lechi that was, so mibifnim, you clearly see that this is something different, that this protrudes out. This is the edge of the wall of the movi, and then this jogs out here. So this is near mibifnim. Mibachutz, it just looks like this is the thickness of the wall of the movi. There's nothing protruding over here. This is shaveh. So from the outside, this looks like there's nothing extra added on. It looks just like the thickness of the wall of the movi. There's nothing identifiable. But from the inside of the movi, when you're standing on the inside, you see clearly, oh, there are some posts over here, some boards or some posts over here. So in that type of a case where it's near b'fnim shavim b'chutz, nida mishum lechi, everyone agrees that that's a lechi because from the inside you can see that there's something clearly identifiable here. But in the reverse case, the case that we just had before, near b'chutz v'shavim b'fnim, in the case where it's near b'chutz but it's shavim b'fnim, in the case where we had that it's near b'chutz, it's shavim b'fnim. So now, in a typical case, you'd have like this. So there are three scenarios Rashi gives. So let's say you had something like this, that on the outside you see clearly there's an L shape, there's something protruding and going to the other side. Now from the inside, if you're standing inside the movi, this looks completely flush. You don't see any difference over here. This looks just like the side wall of the movi. But if you're standing on the outside, you clearly see that this is an L that protrudes to the side. But from the inside, this looks like just like a wall. So it's nearer from the chutz, but shavim b'fnim. Or there are different cases that we have that you just have something that's sticking out like this. So from the outside you see it, but from the inside you don't. Or you have something that's sticking out like this, that from the inside, well, maybe we'll do something like this. From the inside, this looks like it's just part of the wall. Assume that this is not so. If we do something like this. So from the inside, it looks like you don't see anything sticking out, but from the outside you do. Or if this would be something like this, even if it's sticking out over here, but it doesn't have the thickness of this wall, you'll see a jog over here. So in all these cases, you can see it from the outside, but not from the inside. What's the din in such a case? Rabbi Chiva, Rabbi Shimon Berebi, Chad Amar Nida Mishum Lechi, V'Chad Amar Eina Nida Mishum Lechi. It's machlokes. One says it's a lechi, and one says it's not. This time, the Rabbi Chiva who the Amar Nida Mishum Lechi. It's mistaber to say that Rabbi Chiva is the one who says it's Nida Mishum Lechi. The Tana Rabbi Chiva taught Kaisla Shetzira Chad Konas Mechavera. If you have a move where one of the walls are indented more than the other one, we'll illustrate it in a moment. בין שנראה מבחוץ ושם בפנים, או בין שנראה בפנים ושם בחוץ, נידן משום לחי. In both cases, it's נידן משום לחי, tistayim. Therefore, you have a raya that's what Rav Chia holds, that in both cases, it's נידן משום לחi. So let's try to illustrate how this might work. If you have a mavoi that one of the sides are indented. So let's say that it's in this manner here. So in this case over here, it's indented over here, and in this case it goes flush. If you're standing in the mavoi over here, now if you're standing between the area over here, you'll see something, but if you stand over here in the middle of the mavoi, you see just straight walls over here. And you don't see the full extent of it. If you're standing here, you don't see that there is anything different between them. You see a wall here and a wall here. If you're standing over here, you see that there is something different. So this is near b'chutz and shava mibifnim. But if you have a case where it's like this, let's see, where from the inside, so from the inside, you see clearly that this protrudes out. So you're standing here, you see it jogs out. From the outside, it just looks like a flush wall. So this is near b'fnim and it's shava mibachutz. In both cases, Rav Chia says that it's a lechi, so it's this time. So Rav Yochanan Milo Shmi Leha. Well, this brisa that Rav Chia taught, didn't Rav Yochanan know this brisa? So what do we say? He must have known it. He must have heard it, but he doesn't hold like that. He doesn't paskin like it. So maybe Rav Chia the same thing. Rav Chia nami loisavrla, and maybe Rav Chia the same way. He's taught the brisa, but he doesn't hold la halacha. He doesn't hold of it. Or it says no. Hi, my. We can say that Rav Yochanan doesn't hold of it, and that's why he didn't teach it. But Rav Chia he said loisavrla. Lama Leila Mista, but if he doesn't hold of it, so why would he teach you that? So it must be the Rav Chia himself held that way, and Rav Chia held that whether it's Shav Mifnim and Nir Bechus, Shav Mifnim, in both cases, it's Nida and it is a kosher, Lech, it's Nid Mishum Lech. Amar Rav Huna, Nir Bechus, Shav Mifnim, Nid Mishum Lech. He says it's Nir Bechus, Shav Mifnim, it is a kosher, Lech. Amar Rav Maisina Shmaitsin ask you a kash on that because we learned Chalzer Ketana Shenir Hasela Gedoyla. If a Chalzer Ketana is completely opened into a Gedoyla, into a large one, Gedoyla Mutera, so Ketana Asura. The Gedoyla is Mutera, the Ketana Asura, Mimnesha Kepischa Shel Gedoyla, because the second one, the smaller one, is considered to be subordinate to the larger. It's like a Pesach, an entranceway to the Gedoyla. And therefore, the Diurim on the Gedoyla Asr on the Katana, because it's considered to be a part of that area and they don't have an Eruv, so therefore it's awesome. So again, let's look at the scenario of the two Chatzeres. You have the Gedoyla and you have the Katana. This is the small one. You can disregard this length. It's completely opened into the large one. So this wall here is completely breached. It's opened into the large one. This is motor, this is awesome. Might help to illustrate it more like this. This is the small one, and it's completely breached, open to the large one. So the large one has side walls here, but this is completely broken open. So therefore, Navimisa, if it's true that you're saying that it should be considered to be it's a kosher lechim. So if that's the case, so therefore Vimisa Katana Nami Tishtari, the small one should also be mutter. Benir b'chutz of sham b'fnim. It should also be because from the outside you see that there's the side walls over here. So it's near because now even though b'fnim is completely opened, it's breached, but you see these side walls here. It's near b'chutz, even though sham b'fnim, so it should be mutter. Omer Rav Seira, he said the case over here is talking in ben nechnasim kaisli katan al gadola. No, it's not near because the walls extend in. You have the walls of the katana extend into the gadola. So you have walls on both sides. If you look at it, maybe something like this. So these are the walls. They extend in to walls of the katana extend into the gedola. Therefore, the katana comes clearly here. These side walls there are clearly separate. The walls extend in, and therefore the walls are here, and you can't deal with, you don't have any walls of the side walls here. It's completely breached. So therefore, that's why it's not near v'chutz shabbat. For example, we'll say lovud and it should be mutter. If you have a wall, a side wall, that comes here, even if it extends in, but say lovud, extend it to here, and now when you say lovud, if this is less than 3 tefachim, this will be considered this should be considered to be a wall. So really you have the same scenarios they had before. You can see the walls, and on both sides, you can see the walls that are coming up. Once we say lovud, it comes to the side, and you have side walls on each end, and you have side walls. So it's weiter. It should be considered near v'chutz shabbat. Maybe you'll say that this area is more than 3 tefachim away, so therefore you can't say lovud because it's more than 3 tefachim. We can be talking with the katana and gedola even when the katana and the gedola, the katana is 10 tefachim, and the gedola is 11, even though there's one tefach that it comes wider. Now, one tefach that comes wider is only 3 tefachim on each side, and then you have the thickness of the wall, so it's less than 3 tefachim, so you should be able to say lovud. It's true, but we're talking where it's not equidistant. So, therefore, on one end, yes, you can say lovud. On one end, you can say lovud, that it's not so far away, it's within 3 tefachim. Yes, you would be able to say lovud on one side and consider this to be a wall, but on this side, it's too far. It's 4. You can't say lovud, so you only have 1. So what? So tishrei, you only need a lechi on one side, say lovud on one side, and it should be mutter. So the more answer is Rabbi Chia, the Amar bein shnei pasim. But we're going according to Rabbi Chia, and Rabbi Chia said that you need 2 pasim, and in this case you only have 1. The sanya chotzer sheniteres v'pasach. And if you have a chotzer, in a similar way, if you have a chotzer that's breached into the Rishus Harabim, and if this is broken open over here, and it's faced Rishus Harabim, you only need one pas. Pas is like a lechi. We'll see they're usually a little wider. You need one pas to be matrid. But if you have a chotzer and it's a pasah, but Rabbi Aimer mishnei pasim, so Rabbi Chia, who's going with the sheet of Rabbi, is a sheet of Rabbi. You need two pasim. So in our scenario over here, by the chatzeros, you don't have. If it's now moved to one side, then you have on one side you have the lechi, but on the other side you don't have a lechi. So therefore, the Shita's Rebbe, which is what the Rebbe Chia is going according to, you only have one lechi, and that's why it's not mutter. But if you would have it on both sides, it would be equidistant, and you'd have both sides, it would be kosher, because he holds near mechutz v'sham miftim is nidan mishum lechi. The sanya, like we see in the Brisa, chotzer niteres v'pas, but Rebbe Aimer b'shnei pasim. So Rebbe says clearly you need two pasim. So according to that shita, that's where you have that requirement, and therefore without the two pasim, you can't be makshir.